Hi, friends.
Eight-year treasure hunt ends in death. An 8-year search for legendary buried treasure ended in death yesterday when a Los Angeles man died at the bottom of a 55-foot hole he had dug in the Santa Susana Hills. Ronald Fuller, 45, a machinist who had spent all his spare time since 1946 digging for fabled Spanish treasure in the hills around Black Canyon Road, was pulled from the last in a series of holes he had dug yesterday afternoon after more than a dozen workers spent 3.5 hours recovering the body, which was wedged at the bottom of the hole. A sailor from Atlanta, Georgia who was helping Fuller narrowly escaped the same fate but was pulled to the surface just as he was overcome by dynamite fumes. An autopsy was to be held this afternoon to determine the exact cause of death. It was not known whether Fuller was overcome by the dynamite fumes and suffocated or whether he fell from a ledge about 12 feet from the bottom of the hole, killing himself in the fall. The sailor, Sonny Higgs, said he and Kenneth Gaston, a buddy of Higgs from aboard the USS Wasp who lives in Black Canyon, had been helping Fuller in the morning, with Higgs down in the hole passing up buckets of dirt, and Gaston operating the rope outside. Higgs said he was overcome by the fumes from the dynamite set off by Fuller the day before and was pulled to the surface by Gaston after Fuller tied a rope around him. Gaston said Higgs lost consciousness when he reached the top and that Fuller yelled up to see if he was all right. Gaston, partially overcome by the fumes himself, said he went down into the hole to see how Fuller was doing a few minutes later and found him wedged feet up at the bottom of the hole. Gaston rushed to the North American Aviation Plant and called for help. Sheriff's Deputy Merrill Hollins and State Game Warden by Noel were lowered into the hole and Noel was finally able to tie a rope on the body after they had worked for 3 hours to dislodge it from the ledge at the bottom of the hole. Gaston said Fuller had been digging in the hills ever since he heard the legend of buried Spanish treasure from an old Indian. According to the legend, the rocks near the treasure are supposed to have peculiar markings, and Gaston said Fuller showed him a rock near the fatal hole which he said was a lizard's head, one of the legendary markers of the treasure. Fuller was a machinist for the Peerless Pump Company in Los Angeles. He was reported to have been married and divorced and has a daughter whose whereabouts was not immediately known. He made a habit of coming up to dig for the treasure on weekends, onlookers said, and some of the holes he had dug in the past 8 years are even deeper than the 55-foot pit in which he died. Gaston said Fuller had a week's vacation coming up in the near future and had planned to spend the whole week digging, because he thought he was close to reaching the top of the cave where the legendary treasure is supposed to be buried. According to one legend, the notorious bandit Tiburicio Vasquez robbed the stagecoach bound from El Encino in the San Fernando Valley to San Buenaventura, holding it up in the Santa Susana Hills above Chatsworth. 3 boxes of gold were taken from the stage, according to the tales, and were hidden in separate locations in the area, one of them being placed in a cave. Some stories say that 2 of the boxes were removed later but that the third still remains there.